The minority at a press conference on the President's State of the Nation address made their own salient points, and so critically we would want to look at that in a news wrap-up. But before we do all the absenteeism at the word due to malaria and related ailments is significantly said to be undermining productivity in Ghana. And more importantly, we have businesses also being urged to invest in malaria eradication programs to ensure their workforce were efficient at all times.
Well, one such program is the Malaria Safe initiative launched on Wednesday by First Lady Rebecca Akufo-Addo. The project, according to her, is aimed at engaging private sector investment in the malaria prevention. Hannah Dami has more.
Malaria, according to Johns Hopkins Center for Communications, resulted in the economic loss of almost $7 million in some 62 companies surveyed in Ghana. Described as a silent killer, malaria has also been identified as the cause of nearly 4,000 loss of work days due to absenteeism. Country Director for Johns Hopkins, Emmanuel Fiagbe, believes this trend can be curtailed if companies rigorously invest in the prevention and eradication of malaria.
We all know that commercial sale of nets went down for the past few years as a result of the increased free distribution that has been going on, and the producers and the distributors did not find their trade very much profitable, and therefore a lot of them withdrew. But this project is directed at re-energizing the commercial sector. This is to ensure that when you need nets, you get them.
Some companies have taken on the task already and shared with Joy News their benefits.
We realized that as of 2011, the number of hours wasted was 536. Okay. And as
per month or year?
For the whole year.
The whole year.
Yeah. And as of last year, which is 2016, we realized that we have reduced the number of hours from that 536 to 56, which was...
What was your intervention?
Okay, what we were doing was we were distributing a bed net, that is the ITNs, insecticide treated net, to the employees and their dependents.
Launching the Malaria Safe initiative, First Lady Rebecca Akufo-Addo stated, eradication of malaria must be seen as a fundamental human right that needs the attention of the private sector.
Malaria is therefore a major socio-economic challenge and has to be addressed as a fundamental human right issue and a prerequisite for economic growth. Private sector participation in malaria prevention is a sure way of supporting government in sustaining health and therefore promoting wealth. Leaders of business in Ghana, making your working environment malaria safe, making your workers malaria safe, and supporting communities in Ghana remain malaria safe is a sure way to ensure health and wealth for all.
For Joy News, my name is Hannah Odami.
Founder and leader of the United Progressive Party, Akwesi Adai-Odike, wants President Akufo-Addo to suspend his free senior high school program and rather channel the resources into industry to address the mass unemployment challenges confronting the nation.
The president has on various platforms, including Tuesday's State of the Nation address, stated the free SHS will take effect from September this year. Mr. Adai-Odike points out that though he is all for free senior high school, he believes its introduction will not bring immediate economic returns to the country. He explains solid and rapid industrialization can yield further financial dividend to finance free SHS education.
Free SHS is good, but I am thinking that it is not the immediate priority, and I should think about this. We need to create more jobs so that we can contribute a lot into the consolidated fund, and there we can take care of SHS. If we use resources to into the SHS, the money will be locked up. it is not a very good business practice. We need to produce. We need to create more industries. We need to mechanize agriculture. After we've been able to produce more, export more, and earn a lot of foreign currency to stabilize the economy, then education and other facets of the economy can be taken care of.
He also proposes government encouraging partnerships in small-scale manufacturing.
If you go to Kumasi, Central Market, you will see that a lot of the guys are into shoe production. And I can tell you for a fact that Ghana, made in Ghana shoe is now selling within the sub-region. All that they need is a shoe village where we can have a shoe clinic that will, help them to give a touch, a very nice touch, to be able to compete or edge the competitive edge on the global market. When we are able to support them in this way, I think they can do more and bring in foreign currency to stabilize our economy.
The minority in parliament is accusing President Akufo-Addo of peddling untruths when he delivered the State of the Nation's address on Tuesday.
It describes as dubious and misleading claims that the NDC incurred more debts over the last 8 years than all previous governments put together. Minority Leader Haruna Idrisu, who addressed journalists on the President's State of the Nation's address, also denied claims that it caused a $2.4 billion debt in the energy sector.
The energy sector, the president claimed that 2.4 billion of debt has been left by the immediate past NDC government. What he did not add was that these are legacy debts accrued over a period spanning 4 governments under the 4th Republic. So the legacy debt of 2.4 billion is not just the last 4 years of President Mahama or the last 8 years of NDC, but attributable, as I know, many of it to financing of subsidy and dealing with foreign exchange losses over a longer period of time. Even as he cried loud on an outstanding energy sector debt of 2.4 billion through the NDC, the energy sector levy was introduced in order that it will be used to finance VRA and ECG and to offset the outstanding legacy debt. So he only mentions 2.4 billion without sharing with the Ghanaian people accruals from the energy sector levy that they will soon be using if they are already not using that.
He says the NDC government accumulated a total debt of some $20 billion over the last 8 years, not the $120 billion claimed by President Akufo-Addo.
What the two leaders have done is to quote a relatively small figure of 9.5 billion as what they left in 2009 and quote a nominal 120 billion as what currently represents our 122 billion as what currently represents our debt. To the uninitiated mind, this will simply mean that 112.5 billion or 92% of our current debt stock was accrued by the NDC administration. This is a false impression that the Nana Addo Dankwa, the president and his vice, wants Ghanaians to accept as a status of our debt. The reality, however, is that the kind of analysis is deeply flawed and has no basis in sound economic analysis if the intent is not to deliberately mislead the Ghanaian people. Current total national debt is $29.37 billion US. 28.37 billion. I repeat it, our current debt stock stands at 28.37 billion US, which is at the current exchange rate of 1 cedi to 4 tray, gives the 122 billion President Addo mentioned in his address.
Well, the minority leader also demanded the release of security personnel who he claims are in detention for leaking the video of an assault of a policeman at the Flagstaff House.
The president was also silent on the depreciation of the cedi, which has become a major source of concern for Ghanaian businesses and the Ghanaian community. So you will soon witness an epileptic fall of the cedi because they can't hold on to the strength of the Ghanaian cedi, even as they lack monetary and fiscal policy interventions, particularly monetary policy to tame inflation. Activities of these miscreants came to a shocking crescendo when they assaulted a senior police officer, ASP Nanka Bruce at the Flagstaff. Nanka Bruce at the Flagstaff House while the latter was going about his normal duties. We are told that they are suspecting those who gave out the video footprints, and some persons may be suffering even in detention. They should release those people immediately. If they believe in the rule of law, if you do wrong and you are caught on camera, it is wrong. And it is not for you to trace who exposed the wrong. It is, what is important is to right the wrong doing.
Meanwhile, the NDC is demanding the disbanding of the NPP's invisible forces to end what it describes as the lawless rampaging of the group on perceived supporters of the party.
In a press release issued Wednesday by General Secretary of the NDC, Johnson Esierunketia charged the president to not only pay lip service, but end the lawlessness by demobilizing the group.
The release comes a day after the president, in his maiden State of the Nation address, condemned the post-election violence that has left many homeless and some injured. It says in the statement, quote, "The National Democratic Congress notes with a lot of hesitant interest that President Nana Akufo-Addo, in his maiden State of the Nation address, eventually called on the lawless rampaging members of his party to stop all acts of violence and brigandry that they have been consciously unleashing on innocent citizens, especially members or perceived supporters of the NDC, with the tacit support and guarding on of the acting national chairman of the NPP, Mr. Freddie Blay, as well as other leading members of the party." End of quote. The General Secretary later on Pulse on Joy News reiterated the party's position.
Invisible forces. It is not a group that provides security. Who is threatening to attack NPP headquarters? Whom are they protecting the headquarters against? It is that group that is leading the gang of lawless brigands, invading public offices and seizing people's cars and invading private property. These are the people we are talking about. It is not about NPP headquarters.
Have you got any evidence to the effect that the invisible forces are directly involved in this act of lawlessness, as you call it?
The national chairman of NPP came out, the acting national chairman. He was in the studios of Asempa, in your building there, and claimed that they were sent by the leadership of the party and government to go and chase public property and recover the public property. What are we talking about? He's on record to have said that. So have they denied that they are not behind it?
In a related story, the minority leader Haruna Idrisu also told a news conference on Wednesday the belated call by the president to end the violence is not enough.
Those of you who are familiar with developments in the Buzia era were justified to be worried and concerned. And therefore, it's not enough for the president to pontificate and just state that I condemn those acts. Those of you who remember, even in the run-up to the handing over, President Mahama had cause to draw his attention to the rampaging youth. Even this morning, we are still being told that public institutions are still being attacked, and men and women working for the state feel uneasy and uncomfortable. Therefore, let me say here and now that President Akufo-Addo's stance on this acts of lawlessness is most disappointing, especially as he touts himself as a champion of human rights and someone who upholds fundamental freedoms. We know that many of these occurrences have resulted in infractions of the rights of other persons. His justification and equalization of these shameful acts makes him sound more like the commander-in-chief, as I indicated, of a vigilante group, than the commander-in-chief, as we know and respect him, of the armed forces of the Republic of Ghana.
The opposition NDC, among other things, says the inability of the security forces to protect lives and property compelled the party to ask its members to employ the first law of nature, which is self-defense, as the only way of fending off the fiendish attack of the Nana Akufo-Addo's invincible forces. The party in the press release has also indicated its decision to call off a planned demonstration of the party's youth wing against MPP violence as a sign of good faith. The party also called on the president to walk the talk.
In other stories, young graduates in the information communication sector will be benefiting directly from Ghana's 60th independence celebration.
This follows the introduction of the Jubilee App Innovation Challenge by the National Planning Committee. Information Minister Mustafa Hamid says the challenge will give tech students the chance to exhibit their apps to government.
In other words, excellence and innovation are the only two critical principles that, if we were to imbibe in our youthful population, would make us the African lions that we desire to be. So if after 60 years we have arrived at a point where we believe that we should be innovative and we should adopt excellence, it is okay. And therefore, I want to challenge young people to take up this challenge and be inventive, be creative, think outside the box, come out with products. So you never know, this challenge you are being called upon to take could in the next 10, 15 years make you one of the richest human beings on earth. And therefore, I would implore young people to take up this challenge, get ideas, create them, put them out. You may never know. You may never know that your idea is the winning idea until you have entered the challenge.
And the launch of the App Challenge is aimed at engaging Ghana's tech-savvy people to foster development in the country.
The minister also stated more sponsors are coming on board to ensure a successful planning and execution of the 60th anniversary celebration.
As you can see, UMB already has put in some money for this Youth Innovation Challenge. Other companies have come on board to sponsor certain segments and so on. So we are hoping that the kind of message that we are putting out in the public about being Ghanaian and being a committed citizen to the Ghana project would be what will spur more companies and corporate Ghana to come in and help to bear the cost. More people are still coming. I mean, every day, perhaps even as I'm speaking to you, there's somebody who is on his way to the committee to donate some money and so on. So it will take a while for us to have a complete picture of what it is that is coming from corporate Ghana into the kitty.
And that's it for the news wrapper, but we have a lot more news as we review the newspapers. Interesting headlines already we're seeing, and we'll do a lot more updates on news portals, and we'll go to myjournalline.com.
Stay with us.
We'll be right back.